Well, hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Raskin, host of Patricia Raskin Positive Living, and welcome to the world of podcasts and media and pivoting as quickly as you can. Had a guest on for today who couldn't make it at the last minute, and I thought, what a great opportunity for me to come on and talk to my wonderful guests about my projects and what I'm doing and how it all relates to the work. I had been on Voice America for 24 years. I started in 2002, and I'm really excited about it. I've been on many other networks, done many other programs, but I've always kept this one along with the other ones. And my program is about showing people how to turn their problems into solutions and their obstacles into opportunities and make their dreams come true. I've interviewed over 6,000 people in my career and still going strong and also help people create their own podcasts. So if that's something you're interested in, that's something that is near and dear to my heart, helping people get their positive messages out too. So I've decided to get my positive message out in another book. I've written two books a while ago, and I am now creating my third book. And the name of my book, and you can see is on you can see if you're watching, you can see that my symbol is the bumblebee, which is around my neck. Um, the concept of the book, the name of it is Being, BEE hyphen ING, and Aging, AGE hyphen ING. 10 lessons on positive aging from the bee. You might say, well, why the bee? Well, this draws lessons from the bees to help us age well. In this book, bees are really the analogy. Their cooperation, their resilience, it illustrates how humans can age with purpose and positivity and connection. And what I do in this book is I talk about some data, but it's a lot of inspirational stories, storytelling of amazing guests I've interviewed, my own stories, and my own experiences that make these bee lessons concrete for everyday challenges that we have in our life and as we get older. And at the end of each chapter, I have key pollination points. But I've been doing positive living programs for all these decades. And now I'm moving into positive aging, which is really the same thing. It's just that we are older chronologically. That doesn't mean are older in our spirit and our energy and our activity level, but we're certainly older chronologically. So, to go back for those who don't know, I am a baby boomer. And my origins are as a teacher and a guidance counselor. I have more than 4 decades of experience as a media producer and broadcaster. I really was actually a trailblazer when I started in 2002. People would say to me, I can't believe you're doing a show on positive living or positive people. They would say, in those days, kind of the broadcast lingo was, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. And they would say they're not going to listen. It's not, you don't have the sensationalism in it. And so I didn't listen to them. And I stayed with it. And I'm still with it. And now you see so much of this. Oprah was a real force in positive stories and encouragement and empowerment. And you see it so much today in podcasts, in workshops, and webinars. And we need it today more than ever. So, and it's timely. We do have ageism, and ageism often focuses on negativity and debilitation. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking on this program at positive use of aging, improving our health and longevity, framing aging through the wisdom of the hive of the bees, to offer an antidote to fear and to stigma, and presenting our later life as purposeful and interdependent and connected to our communities. Also, research shows that how people think about aging really shapes how they age. I met with a friend today and she said, I don't even like the word aging. I just am who I am. And she's in her mid 70s and going strong. Those who hold more positive views of aging and growing older have better cognitive outcomes, fewer mental health problems, and lower risk of major chronic diseases. So that has been documented. Okay. So, in thinking about all of this and kind of where I've been with this, I created 10 chapters. Now, you might say, what is it? Why is it that there is an analogy to the bee? So you might really say that. The bee is a metaphor. It serves as my power animal. It first came to me during a journey, a shamanic journey, more than 30 years ago, where all of a sudden what popped out in this journey was the bee. And it has continued to guide my purpose and my creative work and my resilience and commitment to really a very strong purpose. Okay. So let me tell you about what the different chapters are. And I'm still working on them. So this is in creation. So each chapter has an analogy to the bee. So the first one is teamwork. The teamwork achieves extraordinary results. Well, bees accomplish remarkable feats in working together. Their cooperation allows them to function as a single, highly efficient organism. And it shows us that our collective effort is going to lead to success far beyond what we can do by ourselves. This chapter talks about listening to our own inner voices, our own inner team, right? That can bring us synchronicity and miracles. Right? So that's what we're looking at. And we also look at it in terms of health, where we have our external team, our consultants, our doctors, our business leaders, but we also have our internal team, those inner voices that really also guide us. And so a lot of this is about listening and working together with the inner work and the outer work. The second chapter is called Effective Communication is Really Essential. Bees communicate constantly. They use vibrations, they use pheromones, they have these dances that relay information about food sources and dangers. And that honest and open communication is vital for health and productivity of the hive. So I'm going to talk about listening skills, body language, and how communication, particularly in our older adult years, is so important because often we have to work through hearing, memory, and attention issues or vision issues. And so we'll talk about stories of people who are older adults, including mine, and how we build communication through trust and loyalty, and also speaking our truth, being able to speak our truth, even though people may not want to hear it, but doing it in a way that shows respect and talking about how things impact us. We may not like that, and people may not listen to what we have to say, but we need to be able to share our truth. How other people receive it is the way they receive it. Okay. And also, the next one is division of labor increases efficiency. Within a hive, bees have specialized roles, from nursing to foraging for food. This clear division of labor, combined with the flexibility to switch the roles when needed, ensures that the colony runs smoothly and adapts to challenges. And as we get older and we enter that last act or concluding chapter of our lives, our roles change. We move from the child to the adult to the parent to the grandparent and sometimes the caretaker, and that's often intertwined in these roles. We'll talk about resilience, what it takes to switch when needed, how to stay present and focused, and I'll tell stories from guest experts and how they've done this with grace and adaptability. The fourth one is living within your means. Bees will gather and store only what they need. And that actually will ensure sustainability and security for the colony. They don't overconsume, they don't waste resources, and they demonstrate the importance of prudent planning and resource management. And this is so applicable to those of us at any age, but particularly older adults as we go into retirement or we downsize or we're doing retirement planning. And I'll share stories again and some facts about downsizing and retirement. But I'll share stories of friends and stories of people I've interviewed on my own about downsizing, changing our spaces and location, and also consuming in creative ways without excess spending. So we'll talk about that. All right, and we're going to do one more, the fifth one, and then we're going to take a quick break, and I'll do five more after that because there are 10 chapters. The fifth one is preparing for hard times. Honeybees always are ready for shortages and disasters. They store food and they adapt their behavior to ensure their survival. So, this teaches us the value of preparation and resilience in the face of adversity. We often think of preparing for hard times as a sacrifice and that we must give up something. But this can be reframed to a fresh start in the future. How we can use our mind maps, lists, discussions, vision boards, and also the process of saving and storing, financial tools, foreseeing changes. All of these come into play to help us prepare for times where there's change and there may be some challenges. All right, everybody, when we come back, I'm going to share the last five chapters that will be in my book. And again, the name of my book is Being and Aging, 10 Lessons on Positive Aging from the Bee. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back and I will share those lessons. Hi, everyone, and we are back. And as I said in the first segment, we had a guest prepared for this segment and couldn't make it at the last minute. So I jumped in and I said, great opportunity to talk about my forthcoming book and what I'm doing. And also to thank Voice America for the 24 years that I have been here and been doing programs. I love it. I love their format and I love the production team I work with. And as I said, I've done many programs on different kinds of networks from PBS to ABC, Fox affiliates, NPR affiliates, TV, radio, internet, but I've stayed with this show throughout. I also had a show for 10 years on the Cumulus affiliate, which is a radio station in Rhode Island. So, and one in North Carolina. But I've always kept this steady, and I was so glad to do it. And I'll just give you a little history. One of the main reasons I came over to Voice America in 2002 was that in those days, there was no way that you could get your work out there, meaning that if you wanted to hear my show, you had to be local, right? You either had to be within local range to either hear it or come to the studio. So there was no internet outreach. Well, then in the 2000s, that all changed. And I thought, well, if I work with Voice America, this is an opportunity to be global. Everybody can hear this. And that's how that started. But I was one of the first. I was one of the early adapters, which I was also in doing my show on cable TV And now I'm dating myself several decades ago. Here we still are. So the name of my book, as I said, is Being, Bee hyphen ing, and Aging, age hyphen ing. 10 lessons on positive aging from the bee. And I went through my 5 chapters so far, and what I do on each chapter is I give an analogy to the bee. And then I talk about how this relates to us, particularly as older adults. So the 6th chapter, and let me just run through the 5 titles again of the first chapter. The first one was Teamwork achieves amazing results. The second chapter was Effective communication is essential. The third chapter is The division of labor increases efficiency, where we work together in different areas. And then Live within your means is 4. And then 5 is Prepare for hard times. So the 6th chapter is Adaptability is the key to survival. Bees adjust to changes in their environment, from weather shifts to new threats. Their ability to adapt quickly and effectively is a crucial lesson for thriving in a changing world. Resilience is the key to thriving, not just surviving. Death, divorce, sudden loss, injuries happen. And it's how we reframe our thinking that allows us to deal with emergencies and tragedies. You know, as I said, I've interviewed over 6,000 people, and many of those authors who've written books or experts talk about how they've overcome obstacles and how that experience has given them a calling. And I'll discuss some of my own losses and how I've been able to restart again. I was just with someone recently whose spouse had became paraplegic in an accident, a water accident. He's since passed, and how she spent 7 years really taking care of him, like a nurse. She did have help, but talk about adaptability. And I said to her, wasn't that really hard? And she said, you know what? He was there for me, and this was my time to be there for him, and this is what I did. And without regret, without anger, it was amazing. And she would just keep being there and negotiating because, when you're dealing with somebody who is in a wheelchair and needs different mobility, adaptability areas, she was like if they had to go on a plane or on a boat, she was always negotiating how they were going to do that. And she said, that's what I did. And it was just amazing. There was not one piece of resentment. This was my turn and I was going to be there. And it was very inspirational to me. Number 7. And that's not easy, by the way, folks. That's not easy because we all, as caregivers, it's difficult. We all need a break and a respite to take care of ourselves. Number 7 is do good without expecting immediate rewards. Now, when bees pollinate, they help the ecosystem without seeking direct compensation. Their acts of goodness ultimately benefit them and others, showing the value of selfless contributions. I'll talk about stories. I'll share stories about people doing good and kindness. Also, I'm going to share some stats that show that kindness significantly boosts health and longevity. It can lower stress and strengthen immunity, improve our mood, reduce our pain, and it can increase our overall happiness. I have a miracle story that I'll talk about where somebody just came out of the blue and helped me in a time of need. And I'll also talk about the late icon Maya Angelou and how she was really amazing in terms of just always giving and, just her Mother Teresa spirit is amazing. Okay, the next one is strong leadership matters. So let's talk about the bee again. The queen bee leads by example, serving the hive's needs and maintaining order. Her presence ensures stability, highlighting the importance of leadership that supports and empowers the group. Leaders are role models for values and culture of the organization or the family. I teach leadership skills for corporations, and I'll talk about good leadership and how a leader of the family or organization is the role model and not only sets the course, but also sets the tone for behaviors and attitudes. I'll share a story of my dear friend and colleague, Paula Marshall, who's the CEO of Bama Companies. And, her motto and her company's motto is people helping people be successful. And that she is. And she's a baby boomer. She's very active. She travels extensively. Her son will eventually step in her shoes and just really is a very strong leader. And her people and I've been there, who've worked there 20, 30, 40 years, love her leadership. It's all about people, helping people be successful. The next one is responsibility and work ethics. Bees are industrious, they're responsible, each fulfilling their role diligently for the good of the colony. Their strong work ethic and sense of duty are models for personal and professional life. When we see a vision and we have a strong purpose, we work on behalf of the vision as a whole. We work through those stumbling blocks along the way. I'll talk about my 5 P's to success: purpose and planning, passion, persistence, and patience. And I added the sixth one, prayer, and how this comes into play as we get older. We could be caregiving adult parents, we could be taking care of grandchildren, we could be fulfilling a delayed vision by traveling to see the world or doing volunteer work. And the last one, number 10, is share and coexist peacefully. Bees share resources and they coexist with other species. They rarely engage in unnecessary competition. They understand that abundance is possible through sharing and collaboration. Bees are role models for coexisting peacefully with their fellow mankind. They understand that peace and abundance is possible through sharing and collaboration. And I'll share another story of Paula Marshall and Bama companies and how they helped a food manufacturing competitor in a neighboring state after there was a weather disaster. A competitor. They went there and they brought supplies. And we'll talk about that mindset of abundance and gratitude and the mindset that, there's enough for all. So that's what I'm working on now, folks. And I continue to do my show weekly, so please tune in on Voice America. It's on Mondays from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, 11 to noon Pacific. And it's also on YouTube when we do the shows live, right? And you can listen anytime on demand, either on Voice America Media, you can go on Libsyn, you can also go on YouTube for Voice America, okay? And also, if you'd like to do your own podcast, since I've interviewed, as I said, thousands of people, I'd love to help you. It's on my website, patriciaraskin.com. You can also email me, patricia@patriciaraskin.com. I would love you to like me on Facebook, on Instagram, right? On YouTube. Certainly you can like me on LinkedIn as well. So use my social media links and take a look. I have just reorganized my website, which a real focus on positive aging, my podcasts. And as I said, it's a true honor and a privilege to be able to do this work for as long as I've been doing it. And here's to many more years of being able to spread positivity and the honey from the hive and pollinate through the airwaves. All right, everyone, love to hear from you. Patricia@patriciaraskin.com. I'm going to sign off now and say bye for now. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Bye for now.